Photographers, do not get sued. Let me help you with some information here that I didn't know that will help you along the way. And I'm very guilty of perhaps not portraying this enough because I'm in the UK. We're not particularly litigious. Now, other UK people who have watched a lot of American YouTubers have the fear of God put into them, but hopefully we can all find some middle ground. I'm going to tell you how I legally do things, how I go about things. Just to give you some context. Now, I'm based in the UK. I have two different types of company. I have a sole trader, that'd be me, and I have the Tin House Studio, that'd be this place here, as a limited company. We won't go too much into that and the tax and all the rest of it. It's way more complex and you need somebody who's actually, in that world. But that's how I'm set up as a business. It works out very well for me. But there's some things we need, and I'm going to just bundle all the businesses into one to make sure that we don't end up getting sued. Or if we do, we have the right means there. And let me know in the comments below if where you're from, there's something I'm missing here, but let's dive into this. And of course, this is not legal, financial, or business advice. This is just what I do. So let's start off with the really boring topics of insurance before we go on to the more exciting stuff. So you need insurance. I have public liability insurance. I have contents insurance on here. I have building insurance on this. I also have a type of insurance that most of you won't need, which is employee insurance to insure people employed by me. Freelancers who come in have their own insurance, but I'm also insuring them too. And then we have something else, which is for if we portray somebody in a light they don't like and they try and sue us, we have that insurance. And that's called indemnity insurance. That's in case we portray someone in a way they don't like. It's not really something I think I need, but I have it because it was like an extra £10 and why not? So that's the insurance we have. I also have my companies legally set up, which is very important. My tax is all paid and all the rest of it. Don't be one of those people who tries to avoid paying taxes. Just pay your taxes. It pays for all the good stuff we have in life, especially in the UK, like free medical care. You also don't want to get into that, and this is not financial advice, don't get into that mindset of making just enough money to not pay tax. That is ridiculous. That is not the aim here. The aim is not to spend as much as possible so that we have a zero tax bill. Of course, you want to be tax efficient, but, let's make sure that's all done legitimately, legally, on time, and correctly. Okay, now let's talk about work. Let's talk about getting paid and making sure we do that correctly. And this is how I do it. So the jobs, they come in different ways. But let's take a photo shoot, for example. We'll be asked to give what is called an estimate. Now, where we're from, an estimate is what we think it might cost. We will then give that estimate figure and probably a plus or minus 10% like leeway in there and go, here's the estimate. The client will go, we accept your estimate. Here's a PO number, purchase order number. That purchase order number is pretty much the legally binding bit of gold we need over here to say you are going to pay us. Now, along with my estimate goes my terms and conditions. There's no contract they have to sign. It's just going, if you're working with us, this is the terms and conditions we work under. And they'll be like, if they accept it, the estimate, they accept the terms and conditions. Now, I know in the States you probably have contracts and all that sort of stuff. We don't do that here. I mean, I've done six-figure shoots on a handshake. That's kind of the British way. But we send the terms and conditions, we get the PO number, and we go and take a 50% booking fee. Not a deposit, a booking fee. And the terminology there in the UK is very important, the difference there. I take the booking fee and that basically covers all our overheads. Should the client absolutely screw us or should they go bust or whatever goes wrong, I ruin the shoot and they don't want to pay, at least I can pay all the crew without being out of pocket. That's very important. We then do the shoot. We then deliver the images and we deliver the invoice, and the invoice will be paid upon X amount of days. Now, if you're dealing with a really big company, it's normally 120. Often it's 90, ideally it's 30, but it really varies. You have some clients who literally pay us the day we deliver. Others, it's like, look, we do a 120-day payment run. If you get your invoice in on this date, here it goes into the next 120 days. So some of it can be 6 months to get paid. That's the way it is working with big companies. If it's small companies, we don't do that. Now, I have a rule. If it's less than a certain amount of money, I want 100% payment up front because it's not worth me chasing for it. So if I work with a YouTube sponsor and they won't pay me in full up front before I start work, I won't do the work because I can't chase them over £500. It's not worth the hassle when I've already done the work. So there's nothing in it for me. If they don't want to work on those terms, I just go, yeah, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Photo shoots, on the other hand, if it's a huge client and they're like, look, we do a 120-day from invoice, and invoices can only be submitted on the last week of the month. That's how it is. You have to decide whether you want to do it or not. I always say yes, we have the cash flow to facilitate that, but that's how we go about that. Now, sometimes on one of these jobs, and we've put our estimate in, and this is where a lot of you get confused, so this is important, stick with it. We get halfway through the shoot and go, this is not going how we thought it would. And we have to turn around and go, look, here's the issue. We can either keep shooting at this speed, but the retouching bill is going to go up because it's taking longer than we expected. Or we can do less shots. What would you like to do? Or we can go into overtime and get both done. Here's the cost on all of them. And because we've only given an estimate, we can do that. We can change it. Of course, we have to have their sign off and their written permission, but that is a negotiation that goes on set. That is why we have agents. The agent will do that conversation without me even knowing. I'll go, Pete, we're running massively behind schedule. The client keeps changing their mind on things. This is the current impact. Can you get that sorted for me? And he'll be like, look, here's what we've got. Here's the numbers to go into overtime. Here's the numbers to fix it in post. Or you're going to lose this many shots and keep it within budget and within time. What do you want to do? He'll then come back to me and go, look, the client's decided this. Are you happy to move on? I'll be like, yeah, brilliant. Let's crack on with it. That's how that conversation works. There's always some element of it on every single shoot. Sometimes we get halfway through a shot and they're like, oh, can we try this? I'm like, yes, we can. Here's the implications. Here's the impact of doing that. Or sometimes it's like, yeah, do you know what? We're ahead of schedule. We can try that. Let's give it a bash. So it's all about that time management. And that's how you keep a client happy, because you constantly feed back to them. It's a constant feedback loop on set of going, this is where we are. Are you happy? Are we happy? Is everything going well? It's not an argument. It's not a point of conflict. It's just, this is what's going on. You know, no one's trying to rip anyone off here. It's just making sure everyone gets the best out of the day. And when we're ahead of schedule, we're like, look, do you want to try this as well? We can do this as well. Or do you want to wrap early and all go home sooner? Yeah, what do you fancy? And that's really important. And that's how we work things. Now, I've never been sued as a photographer, thankfully, touch wood. But if I were to, I have everything in place to cover me. I have the correct insurance. I have job insurance. I have indemnity. I have liability. You know, we have shoot insurance and all the shoots as well through the production company. My kit's insured. My staff are insured. And we have a purchase order number. We have a terms and conditions which they agree to upon accepting the estimate. It's all there. Everything is in place to have a nice time. Sure, if you're in the States, you probably have a lot more to worry about. There's a lot more litigious activity that goes on in that particular country. But for the majority of you, it's not something you should be stressed about. And I think a lot of YouTube channels, because they are American-based, they build this fear up. And for us in the UK, it's just not a concern. Like, we keep everything done correctly, but you don't need to be worrying about it. You know, to get sued, you have to either do something really stupid and dangerous, or be a real arsehole. You know, and just not deliver what you said and not manage the client at the same time. It's very rare that anything should end up in court in our industry. We're not doctors. We're not cutting people open. We're taking photographs. You know, it's just make sure everything's mitigated against. If you're on the shoot, have backup kit. If you're on the shoot, have backup crew. I might get sick. My assistant can shoot for me whilst I backseat drive it. Even if I'm in hospital, I can probably get away with it. You know, unless I'm in a coma, the shoot is going ahead. So just try and remember, it's not that scary. It's not a big deal. Just make sure you've got everything in place, everything done correctly. The insurances are not that expensive. Like, I mean, the kit insurances, and I only insure a fraction of my kit because I worked out it's cheaper to save the money instead, but insuring kit's expensive. You know, indemnity, liability, and all the insurance, that's not that much at all. It's hardly anything. It's less than an Adobe subscription for a year. So make sure you do have those things in place if you do need them where you are in the world. You know, just make sure you're following all the correct protocols for billing, terms and conditions, contracts if you need them in the country that you're in. Any questions, pop them down below and I'll see if I can find somebody with the answers for you. See you soon. Bye-bye.